Welcome to the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, the show that puts the spotlight on the incredible women who fuel the world of motorsports. From drivers to crew members, engineers to fans, and everyone in between, we're here to celebrate the trailblazers, dreamers, and doers shaping the sport we love. Each episode, we share inspiring stories of females of all ages from every corner of the motorsports universe, past, present, and future. It's a journey through the seasons of life filled with heartfelt moments, laughter, and a whole lot of horsepower. So whether you're a lifelong fan, a racer yourself, or simply curious about the extraordinary women behind the wheel, settle in, relax, and enjoy a fun and uplifting ride with us. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, connecting and celebrating women in motorsports, one story at a time. Let's hit the track. Hello, everyone. This is Melinda Russell with the Women's Motorsports Network. And my guest today is Gabby Carroll. And Gabby, I want to first welcome you to the show. And would you share a little bit about yourself so my listeners know who is Gabby Carroll?
Hello, I'm Gabby Carroll. I'm a freshman at Purdue University in Indianapolis, or at West Lafayette. And then I'm studying engineering. I haven't decided what engineering yet, but I'm thinking biomedical engineering on a pre-med track with the minor in Spanish. I have a younger brother and a cat and a dog, and I'm excited to be here today.
Well, thank you, Gabby. I'm excited to have you here. And so I know you're in a quiet spot in the dorm somewhere. So if we have any interruptions, it's just fine. We're not going to get excited about it, okay? So we'll just go with the flow today. So Gabby, how did you get interested in motorsports? Tell me your story.
Okay, well, originally it was during COVID, really, and me and my grandpa used to go to like a little go-kart track near his house, and we would just race, and my mom was like, "You're awfully competitive, like you're running your grandpa off the track, so I'm sure you'd be pretty good at this if it was people your age." So I think someone connected her with NXG, which is a go-karting program for kids of younger ages through like, I think 16 and younger. And from there, I got connected to all the different things of like the Indy 500 and like the Brickyard and all that. And then I just fell in love with it. I was like, this is amazing.
Well, and you live in the perfect town for that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So have you been to the Indy 500?
Yes. Ever since I started with NXG, I've been, I think, like 3 years in a row now. Like I'm obsessed. I go every year I can.
Yeah. It's an amazing event. And not to take anything away from the actual racing, because it's, awesome.
Yeah.
But the experience.
All of it.
All of it.
The food, the racing, all of it.
The people, the food, the smells, the bands,
the sounds,
the music, everything. And it's more like a spectacular event. It's not, with a little racing on the side, because there's just so much going on. And the number of people, if you don't like to be around a lot of people, it's not the place for you to go.
No, it's
because there's hundreds of thousands of people, and it's just absolutely amazing. And I've been there 3 times, and I mean, I like watching it on TV. Excuse me. The parking was my biggest complaint about it. And once I found a place to park and I had to walk quite a ways, then it was great after that. I loved it for sure.
Yep. I feel like every year you go, you get a little system down, and then it gets a little easier.
Well, and after the first time you go, you don't know where to go.
Yeah.
And then the next year you maybe figure out something else. And so every year you figure out, okay, I'm going to go an hour earlier and I'll be that much closer to park. And then I can go
early
do
morning.
this. Yes. So you're right. The more you go, and that's true, I think, of any track, or the more you go. I'm very familiar with Phoenix because I've been there a lot, and my daughters live in Phoenix. So I always try to go out there during race time, and I feel very comfortable about where to go, where to park, where to eat, all those things. And so, yeah, the Indy 500 would be the same. It's just that the number of people is unbelievable. And they say racing's, people try to say, oh, racing's, not losing interest. Oh, no.
You can tell it's not. There's so many people.
There's so many people, and little kids to old grandpas and everything in between. So it's not everybody that's there is a fan, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So Gabby, what are you doing right now as far as in racing? I know you're in college, so that's a priority, but are you going to be racing this summer, and what are you going to be doing?
I am now on the crew for NXG's program since I'm no longer 16 and can't participate in the racing necessarily. I, during the summer, obviously during my breaks, I'm a part of it. And then as well, when they came up to the Purdue little race car track, I helped them there too. So as much as I can, I try to stay involved and be a part of the crew where I do timing and scoring. So I keep track of how the races for the people in the program are going, basically.
Oh, that's cool. And I interviewed a gal that does timing and scoring at a track, and I mean, I'm very familiar with a lot of the jobs in racing, but it was really interesting because she shared a lot more in-depth things about what she did, which a lot of people don't even have a clue that there's people up in the tower doing scoring. They think there's a monitor on the car and it just automatically goes somewhere. And so, we have to educate people too, and
It takes a lot
explain
of
to them, yeah, there's a lot of jobs in racing that are as important, if not more, than the driver. So tell me about first, let's start back with when you were a driver. What was your favorite thing about being involved as a driver?
My favorite thing was, I don't even think it was the races itself. It was the practices before the races with all my friends because we'd be having fun and nobody was really that competitive because we knew winning that really didn't matter too much. So we were racing around. It would be fun. We'd do practice things like swapping between people so the cars kind of crisscross. It's those fun things like that, just bettering your skills and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and if you're not having fun, there's no point in doing it.
Oh yeah, because you have to wake up early to do these things. So if you're not having fun, it's miserable because you're like, I'm here early and I don't want to
Hmm.
do it, but I had so much fun.
And it's funny how kids don't want to get up in the morning to go to school, but if it's race day, they're up
Up.
really early. It's like Christmas morning every race day for sure.
Yep.
So, did you ever have any bad days at the track when you were racing?
I don't know if I would call them bad days, but like I've had a collision or two while racing the go-karts and I that wasn't fun in the moment because you're like, dang, now I'm kind of out of the race.
Yeah,
I'm getting asked if I'm hurt and I'm not hurt. I just want to get back on the track.
right,
But
right.
it's part
So
of the process.
when
If you're not bumping into people, it's gonna happen,
it's
whether
going
you
to
like it or
happen,
not.
absolutely. And then, so when you had a bad day, though, because as I say to everybody when we talk about this, there's always bad days as far as um, wrecks and different things, cars breaking stuff at the racetrack, because that's just how racing is. But how did you deal with it? Because you were a younger girl at the time, under 16. You know, we try to learn how to deal with adversity, and a lot of girls in racing, I feel, mature more quickly because they do deal with a lot of life things in racing. So how did you deal with, things weren't going right?
Well, I had a really good coach. His name's Rod Reed, and he would always pull me aside. He'd be like, "First of all, are you okay? Did you get hurt?" And then I'd be like, "No." And then he'd be like, "Just sit down," because I'd be heated. I'd be so mad that I was off the track or that I had to stop because the car messed up or something like that nature. He'd be like, "Well, this happens. Like you have to understand this happens, and it's okay because you'll be out there in a little bit. Like it's just you have to take a breather, sit down because you can't go right back on the track because
No.
you might be hurt and not notice it until a little
Yeah.
bit."
Yeah.
So he was a very good mentor in the whole process, as well as my mom. I love her. She's very sweet. She was like, "You tried your best," because she didn't get into racing till I got into racing, pretty much.
Okay.
Although she's an engineer, so she's worked on like cars and things of that nature, so she got the gist of it. But I don't think either of us had really been to the Indy 500 until we got into all of this. So she was like, "You look great out there. Like you were going so fast. It's so fun." And it was the encouragement of seeing her be so happy that I was doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. There's nothing like having your family be a part of the whole thing,
And my
you know.
whole family became a part of it. My grandparents came up to watch or go to the Indy 500. My brother, my dad, everybody.
Yeah. And that's kind of what happened in our family. My son was the one that from the time when he was about 4 years old. We used to go to the racetrack and watch some friends race. And he would sit on the front row. He loved racing. And then as he got older, he played sports and we kind of got out of it. But he never lost that love. And when he graduated from high school, he bought a stock car behind my back with his graduation money. I've told that story before. And so he never really lost that spark of loving racing. And then whether we wanted to be involved or not, it's either if you can't beat them, join them. And so then, we all got involved. And as, time goes on, my granddaughters even raced. And so it's an activity that your family can all be a part of, more so really than other sports. Because if you play softball, they can sit and watch.
I played softball. This is true.
Yeah. So they come, they sit and watch.
It's not as interactive though.
It's not as interactive. And when you have a car, they can help change the tires. They can be the snack lady. They can do whatever, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so it makes it a much more of a bond with your family, I think, in motorsports.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too. So, when you had your car and you were racing, were there very many girls that raced with you?
In the go-karting program, there were, I think, 3 of us.
Okay.
So there weren't very many of us because I think there were like maybe 10 or 12 guys and then like 3 girls. So we got really close. I feel like the girl's my best friend now. Like it's very fun. Yeah. But I think as the years have gone on with the program, as someone who's part of the crew now, I get to still see how many girls come and things like that. It's increasing. So like it's great to see that.
Yeah, it is. And that's true of almost every area of motorsports. There's more and more girls getting involved at younger ages, and I love seeing that for sure. So when you changed over and you grew up, you passed 16, so you had to do something else. You went to timing and scoring. Was that just they needed help and so that's where you landed, or was that something you wanted to, you were interested in because of engineering? How did that come about?
I think I really wanted to do anything to stay a part of the program. So it started there. And then I think at the time that's where they needed someone since other people already had positions. And then I just became really interested in the little bits and pieces. It's like a little puzzle, putting everything together and getting it all to work.
Yeah. And do they have do they have the little, I can't even think what they're called now, the things on the cars that track, or do you do manual scoring?
They have little
transponders. Yeah. I don't know why I couldn't think of it. Yeah.
And then and we have like the lines on the track so that when it crosses it takes the time. Yes.
Yeah. So at least that helps, but you still got to be watching and everything, because
if you they throw a flag or anything, it can mess it up if you don't put that in there too. Because then it's how did all this happen?
Well, or if for some reason all of a sudden you get a blip and it goes down. Yeah. It's like, whoa, you got to be ready for anything. So it's a really, really important job, because if somebody thinks that they won and then somebody else, that can get, it happens, but it can get ugly, I'm sure, real quick. So what was your biggest challenge when you first got involved in motorsports?
I'm not a morning person, I'm not going to lie. Until I really started to love it, I was kind of just like, why am I here so early? Mm-hmm. And then when I got close to the people in the program, I was like, okay, now I get to go see my friends, but it's still really early.
Yeah.
And then I grew and I got more interested in it, and the getting up early faded away. But at first it was very rough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. And, you think, oh, I'm here because my mom wants me to do this. And then as you made those friends and as you got closer, and then you started loving actually being in the races, that fell to the bottom. That didn't matter anymore.
It didn't matter who signed me up anymore. I was like, this is fun.
Yeah, this is fun. What was the most fun about it all?
I think I met so many new people because we were of all ages. I didn't know them from school or anything because it was a new program. So that was really fun. the experiences. We got to race like in the middle of the, like, you know where the museum is in the middle of the
Hmm.
track? We got to race on that parking lot, which is really cool. Like it's all sorts of things that I never would have thought I could do.
Well, or you never dreamed of.
Yeah. Like I
Yeah,
didn't know that was an opportunity I could have even been a part of.
right. Yeah, exactly. So you want to be an engineer. You're not sure what kind, which there's demand for all kinds of engineers. What led you to that path? Your mom? You following in her footsteps?
Both my parents are engineers, and I think my grandpa, there's a lot of engineers in the family, so
Okay.
that really caught my interest because that's what I grew up seeing. But I'm thinking biomedical engineering because I really am interested. I want to go to med school at the end of the day.
Okay.
And I'm pre-med and biomedical engineering. If I don't go to med school, I get to design prosthetics and things of that nature, which is really awesome. And it's like very close to medicine without being like it's still an engineering position.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. And again, it's one of those positions, occupations that we don't think about. We
No,
don't think about who designs those kinds of things. Or, of course, doctors, we're familiar with people that want to
yeah,
be doctors, but there's so many other outside positions that support medicine. It's research, it's engineering, and so many things that when we think about being involved in medicine, the first thing you think about is doctor or nurse, right?
yep.
But there's so many other things, and we certainly need some bright young women like you in the medical field. So I hope you continue down that road for
Thank
sure.
you.
So do you ever think that you might go back and get in a car and race at some point?
I'm not against it. I'd love to do that. I don't know if it'd ever be competitive again, but just maybe like even like on the cruise, sometimes they let us use the carts and the crew gets to race around for fun. It's so
Yeah,
much fun, so I'd love any opportunity to do that.
yeah. But more just casual and
Yeah,
not, yeah, not serious,
I think
or
with how
anything
busy
about.
school is,
Yeah,
I don't know that I'll ever have the opportunity to invest enough time to go
right.
a little
Yeah.
more competitive. But yes,
So you are busy, you go to school and you've got a lot of things going on. How do you take care of yourself? We call it balance or self-care. What do you do to make sure that Gabby's the best she can be every day?
I go to the gym. I spend time with my friends because I feel like once I get my schoolwork done, I'm like, okay, now I get to do what I want to do. I can have a little breather so that I'm not always thinking about school. And I hang out with my friends, or we go to family dinners, what we call it, at the dining halls, or things of that nature, or go to the gym together. Just getting out with people that don't make me think about school constantly so that it's like a little stress relief.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's good for all of us to go and hang out with friends. And I think COVID really brought that to our attention. We
Yeah.
took all of that for granted prior to that. And then when, we couldn't go even to be with family, at times, I think it makes it more valuable to us now because we're back at it, and we're almost to the point where we're probably starting to take it for granted again, that we can hang out with friends and family whenever we want to. But I think it's good to remember that, first of all, that our friends and family are still with us every day. That can change quickly. And that we have the ability to go wherever and hang out with them. And my daughter surprised me and a week or so ago and called and wanted to know if I was going to be busy during a certain time. And I said no. And I thought she'd want me to come and babysit, even though her kids are 15 and 14, but they can't drive. So
Mhm.
when she goes somewhere, Mama has to come and drive. And no, she's surprised me. She's going to take me on a cruise.
Ooh,
So, what are the chances, that that's going to happen? We live in such a wonderful world where we can do so many things, whether it's racing or hanging out with your friends in the cafeteria or whatever. And so we're really very lucky about our lives, aren't we?
yes.
Yeah, for sure. So, women in motorsports, that's kind of what I focus on. Gabby, do you think motorsports is a good sport for people to be in, for girls, women to be involved in?
I think it's a great sport for everybody to be involved in because when you're behind the car or behind the wheel or whatever, it doesn't really matter who you are.
Right.
It's all about your skills. So as long as you're putting your best effort and practicing, I think it really doesn't matter who you are as long as you're doing your best.
Yeah, I agree. The car doesn't know if you're a guy or a girl.
No, it cannot tell the difference. So as long
No.
as you're doing what you need to do.
And most of the people that are watching the race don't know either unless they hear
No.
your name and can tell. You know, I interviewed a girl, her name's Ronnie,
Mm-hmm.
and it's spelled a little different, but she's like, oh, yeah, when I'd get out and take my helmet off and my ponytail, they'd be like, it's a girl, and they had no idea.
Yeah, because people will not know. You have
No.
helmets on. Nobody will ever know.
No, they won't. So do you feel like you're a role model maybe for any of those younger kids that are now you're, you know, working in that series? Do you feel like, oh, they look up at you because you were a driver?
I definitely think like Coach Reed, he takes the time to like kind of create mentorship relationships. So he's definitely had me speak to them or kind of just talk about what my experience was like as a girl and things of that nature. So I think at least a little bit, I hope that I'm a mentor, if not.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. And, you know, you never know who you're influencing.
Yeah.
Good or bad, unfortunately, we don't always know. But the fact that some of them be like, oh, I remember when she raced and now she's doing this and she's going to Purdue, which is prestigious, obviously, too. And those things, you never know who you're going to influence as far as maybe make them think, well, if she can do that, so can I.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, for sure. So, do you think that motorsports for women is something that a lot of women don't think about getting involved in? You know, your grandpa kind of got you going. What if your family was not involved at all in motorsports? Would it have been anything you would have ever figured out or thought that you wanted to do?
I don't think I would have, because honestly, I grew up in Indianapolis. If that didn't help me figure it out, I don't know what would. But
Yeah.
until I had gone out with my grandpa, I didn't even know that that was an opportunity. So I
Okay.
think it takes someone or something to show you that, oh, this is something I can do, or this is an opportunity I haven't even thought of.
Yeah, I that's what I was thinking of. You know, here you're in the hotbed of motorsports area. You
Yes.
know, between Indianapolis and Charlotte, I'd say those are two of the biggest places to get introduced to motorsports.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, you know, there's so many people. So I have cousins that live in the Indianapolis area, and until they went to the race with me 3 years ago, they had never been to the Indy 500.
Yeah, I'd never been before the program.
Yeah, and I was shocked because I just thought, you mean to tell me you could drive less than an hour, go to the Indy 500, and it's not that they didn't like racing, they just didn't do it. And I think sometimes when things are close to home like that, we kind of just don't think about it. Yeah, but now you're not going to miss it, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm already looking at, okay, what day is it? When can I get my tickets? I'm excited already.
Yeah, for sure. Um, oh, I lost my train of thought. So, do you have a really like a good memory, or maybe one that's wasn't so good? Maybe you flipped or something. What's your favorite memory from the time you started till now? Something that happened, something that somebody said that influenced you, anything at all as far as being in motorsports?
I think my favorite memory was when it was like our big finale race or whatever, and my grandparents came up. I had friends from school come. Like, it was so much fun to see everybody there supporting me. That's probably my favorite memory because they probably never heard of it either. So I felt like I was introducing new people to the sport, number one. And two, it was nice to have those people that I didn't really think would have the opportunity to come out and see me race, get to see me and on the track and doing my thing.
Yeah, yeah, so true. Because you know, every chance we get, really, we should be introducing people to the world of motorsports. That's how it grows. That's how anything grows. You know, I went to a movie and I liked it and I told you, and then you went and then you told your friend, and it's the ripple effect, right? It just kind of, everybody finds out about this movie that nobody thought was any good. And it's the same way in racing. You know, you get involved, then you share it with your family, then your family shares it with the people they work with, and it just grows that way. That's
Yes.
what we need to do. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, do your friends know that you race or
Yeah,
raced? Yeah.
I think most people now have figured out, if not by me accidentally, or not accidentally, but me bringing it up and passing, and they were like, wait a minute, I didn't know you did that, or something of that nature. I feel like it's come up in enough conversations where most people I'm around know now.
So, do they understand like what it is that you did or that you do now, or do you have to like kind of explain it to them?
I explain it a little bit, but it's kind of hard to explain. I'd rather just show them a video of what's going on, and I feel like that really does the trick because they're like, "Oh, you really were racing
Yeah.
go-karts and whatnot."
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of times, of course, in Indianapolis, if you say racing, they probably think of the Indy 500.
Yes.
Whereas a lot of other places in the country, if you say, "Oh, I race a car," they think of NASCAR. It's kind of the, oh, you go in circles and turn left. Well, how fun is that? I mean, that's just kind of the response you get from people
Yeah.
until they really see it. And I think they have to see it or experience it to really understand everything that goes into it. And even then, a lot of fans don't really get all the things that go into it. They're just
It
fans and
takes so much.
yeah, there's so many things. So, would you ever, you want to go on and be a physician? Would you ever think about maybe at some point I would use my talents in racing? Racing has physicians too.
Yes, I actually that's what I was talking to Coach Reed about because I really wanted to get figure out what it is that the physicians do and what kind of physicians are on track because at all times during a race you need a physician because anything could happen to anyone.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I am really interested in maybe seeing how that can transfer from my medical school and things of that nature can transfer into back into the race industry.
And it wouldn't have to be like the full-time job. It would be, like in the medical center when they wreck, they go to the medical center and get checked out. It could be something along that nature that you can still be involved in motorsports a little bit and still be a physician or whatever you wanted to
Yep.
be. So that's another thing that, people don't realize that there is always some kind of physician, if not more than one at the track,
Yes.
that for the big races. Yeah. So, how do you feel about social media and racing? Or, did you use it very much? Do you stay in touch with the kids that you raced with through social media? How do you use social media?
I definitely use social media to stay in touch with my friends that I made in the program. I use it to keep track of what's going on in the race world because if not, to be honest, I'm not really watching the news enough for me to really know what's going on or
No.
things of that nature. And I don't really have enough time to sit down and watch a whole race with college and things. So I definitely keep track of what's going on through social media.
Yeah, I figured that you did. And so, you know, the the social media can be good. It can be not so good. What do you think could be done to kind of change how people are on social media? Something goes wrong at the track and people are bashing the track. How do we change that culture? Do we unfriend them? Do we respond to them? What's your thought? Because you're a younger person who has a lot more time probably spent with social media than a lot of us. So how do you think we can make social media be better than what it is?
I think it's about the people like realizing that if you're going on social media and bashing a track or something like that, you wouldn't do this in person. Like if you were in person and could talk to somebody from the track, you wouldn't say this. It's just because you're behind a screen and you feel safer to say this. So I think it's realizing whether you're behind a screen or not, it still matters and it's important how you treat people. So if people treated people like they would in the real world, it would probably be a lot better because they wouldn't have the courage to say all these mean things to people. They'd be a little more polite or maybe constructive criticism instead of just going on there and ranting about the thing.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Those keyboard warriors
Yes.
have no fear.
It's
Yeah,
because they're
until
behind the screen. They think nobody will ever know it's them.
no, but the thing is, they do sometimes get called out at the track. And
Yeah,
that's the best thing that can happen because
because then they
um,
realize it's real. People are you're affecting people with what you say. It's not just
absolutely.
typing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Gabby, anything we haven't talked about that you would like to share or about motorsports or women involved in motorsports, or anything that what you hope to see in the future, anything at all?
I would love to see more younger girls getting involved in go-karting just from a younger age. And I don't know if you're from Indiana, Next Gen Racing was a great opportunity for me, but if you're not, I would love for everybody to find a program like that to help them, because it wasn't really just about the racing. Whether you want to race or not, I got involved and introduced to other things in the racing world. I got a chance to see racing in person, and it was a lot of, they taught us STEM classes too, because they wanted us to understand how the car works. So it was a lot of real world application. So find something of that nature. If not, if you're around the area, go find them to get involved.
I'm glad you brought up the STEM, because that is such a big thing. And, we used to, that was never a thing in the past. And of course, now we hear about it a lot. And there are so many things as far as your college education and anything that you do, even high school education, that you can put your math and your science and all your different things to work. And if you're going to drive a car, you need to know how it works. You can't just depend on the
wheel.
Yeah, you need to know those things, and everything you can learn makes you that much of a better driver too.
This is true.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like that. I'm glad you mentioned that. Anything else at all, Gabby? I've really enjoyed talking to you today.
I've enjoyed this too. I don't think so.
Okay. Well, good luck to you the rest of the school year. And I'll try to be watching a little bit and see how things are going with that series and that. And I like staying in touch. So if you post anything about the series or anything, just tag Women's Motorsports Network, and then we'll that makes it easier for me to find you. And so we'll do that and stay in touch. I'm glad that you were suggested to me by someone to interview, because you're a very bright young woman, and you're the future of not only the medical field, but probably the motorsports field as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Gabby.
Have a great day.
You too. That's it for this episode of the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. We hope you've been inspired by the stories I shared today and feel more connected to the amazing community of women in motorsports. Remember, whether you're behind the wheel, in the pits, or cheering from the stands, your story matters. And together, we're driving change and celebrating every milestone. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who loves motorsports as much as you do. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and more incredible stories. So until next time, stay inspired, stay connected, and keep racing through life. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, where every woman's story is worth celebrating.